I'm Nimi. I hope you've enjoyed listening to our conversations with these amazing people on our podcast. Venturing Beyond 9 to 5 has been nominated for the Best Educational Podcast in Hubhopper Studio Podcast Awards 2021. Please help us out by following the link in our description and voting for Venturing Beyond 9 to 5. Thank you. Hello, I am Nimi. From AdventuRISE, this is Venturing Beyond, a podcast where we delve into the career stories, experiences, passions of ambitious individuals. Today we have with us Harshad Bhagwat, the CEO and founder of WordsMaya, an EdTech startup aiming to empower students and professionals with professional communication skills to enable them in being more employable and effective in their jobs. Before his stint into entrepreneurship, Harshad is a scientist working with TATA Research Development and Design Center. Welcome, Harshad. It's wonderful to have you here. How are you?
Thanks, Nimi. Really excited to be featured on this podcast. Thank you.
Yes. So you've been in the career development field for a while now, right? But prior to this, you were working in research. What pushed you into transitioning from the world of academia into entrepreneurship? And I'm curious about how you made that decision specifically.
Yes, I mean, after graduation, I worked at TATA Research Center as a scientist. It was a 7-year long tenure there, but it was into applied research for four and a half years. But for last 2 years, I could transition into more business development role because we realized that there are so many things we are developing, patenting, but finally it has to go to business. It has to see the light of the day at the customer, at actual industry level. So I moved in our department itself. I moved more into business development role towards the end. That helped me understand how to take something from an ideation level to development to commercialization. So I had that kind of background, even though my role on paper was scientist. Around 2012-13, I started hearing this word startup in few events. Nowadays, this word is everywhere. But at that time, it was new to me. So I was curious. I attended few events around 2012-13 time. I even traveled outside Pune to attend big events in Bangalore, Hyderabad, Delhi, Mumbai to really understand, network, talk to people. And that really fascinated me, that energy of entrepreneurs as opposed to, typical scientists. The energy level, the commitment, the passion is much different, as well as the freedom to implement your own ideas, take it to business without any corporate structure or limitations. Even though inside my corporate job, I was going to these events and networking and understanding, trying to understand whether I fit into that. It took me a while, but it was a firm decision, and I thought I have never regretted it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I'm curious about whether you had to kind of retrain or upskill yourself in any way. I know that technology has been advancing so much and society has been advancing really rapidly, right? So I can imagine it would have been very difficult to change careers.
Yes, upskilling, reskilling is always required. And I think these days, it hasn't stopped. But at that time, when I had to switch my careers, there were two things I did. I think I did them well. One is I joined a formal program. At that time, it was Startup Leadership Program. It was kind of the only program in Pune I could find, really. Nowadays, there are many, and even online, there are many happening. Even Y Combinator, you can join online nowadays. So that was, you can say, formal training, apart from books or some videos. And the other thing I did was pure networking. Really changed my network or friend circle, you can say. Rather than having scientists or engineers as my close network, which I still have, I changed my network around to entrepreneurs. So I started going to these events, breakfast meetings, started exchanging cards and really talking to them, and made those first 10-15 friends, you can say, who were on similar path, maybe 2 steps ahead of me, and they could talk to me, share their practical stories, you can say. And I think the third thing inside the networking part I did well was mentors. So I was not shy away from reaching out to people who are really accomplished, you can say. I always made sure that I'm learning, I'm curious about different people, their stories, how they have built businesses, even though they are not in edtech probably, but how they have done this. I think this formal, informal learning really helped, and it hasn't stopped. I mean, even today, around 2 hours every day I spend on learning.
But did you start with WordsMaya when you went into entrepreneurship? Like, how did you discover the problem that you want to solve?
Yes, so it took me some time. I started something else. I called it as GRE Genie. So many of my friends, I had seen the struggle of remembering those GRE words, or so I found some customers, but I didn't see the scale there, and pretty much in 6 months' time, I scrapped that. Words Maya, that I think the problem was always around me, you can say, but it took me a while to figure that out. This networking helped really. So I started talking to students, professors, HR managers, and overall industry experts. I knew that I will do something around skill development or in professional education or somewhere around that. Was never really passionate about school education. I don't think I even understand that part. Started talking to many people, and at least in India, I would say that is a number one problem, that we just don't know how to communicate our ideas. I think we have excellent aptitude. We focus a lot on science and maths education. We are good in programming. We are even good in sales in local languages, but sometimes while communicating in English, presenting our ideas, and sometimes it goes into the way our schools are structured. We focus too much on listening and writing rather than speaking. Even in college and at Tata Research Center, I knew that the ability to present our ideas at the right place, even the way you communicate with your boss and next level boss, really matters. And I think I could do that well. While talking to people, I also realized that, yes, I mean, that is something I have. And so that passion came from both sides, you can say, that there was a big problem outside, and I had that something in me that, okay, I had that understanding in me from inside as well. So I drilled down to that problem. And that's the reason the name Words Maya. We didn't focus only on English language. We always were interested in English communication.
Yeah, I also found, a similar struggle in school. But I think what the problem that I notice in education is the focus on grades and on getting degrees and certificates, and not much of a focus on, like, practical skills that are necessary in life, and um, about being able to talk with people. Like you mentioned mentorship earlier, right? Which is something that we're passionate about and trying to help through AdventuRISE. So I'd love to hear, like, your thoughts on the current education system, and kind of what holes do you notice in it?
I think when we were children, uh, I think it was very natural for us to communicate, right? And that what happens is that we always have to be right in school. Okay, being correct and as approved by your teacher is so much more important, I guess. than having a new idea, or maybe you are half correct, but the way you have articulated it, or the way you are debating about it. So what happens in real life, there is no correct or incorrect answer, right? There are many answers. And what happens is that the way you articulate your thought, present it, and put it into that language, all these things, I think, need a very safe environment, I would say. So what happens in our schooling system is that we get bogged down by too much comparison and always being pushed for marks, which has to be, correct or incorrect type of thing. We sort of forget this part that, okay, this could be my thought on it. And if I present or if I just speak up, people should not, or others should not say you're wrong. They could just say, okay, can you think it this way? Or, can you present it this way? So just having that environment around is so critical, I would say. What happens because of this, when these students come to college or in profession, we all search for the correct answer, or we all search for someone telling us what to do, and not really having our own thought, our articulation, and being able to present or even debate on that thought and perspective. So this ability is very crucial. Yesterday, I just happened to come across a meme that in school, if we look at someone else's notebook, it is called as cheating. And in profession, if we ask someone to have a discussion, that is called as collaboration, right? So what happens is that, this is such a different level of thought process. And the same students go to college and then go to profession. They really worry about being wrong. And what happens is that they never speak up. So today, with WordsMaya, we have types with corporates where all they want from us is just like kuch to bolne do inko. They are software engineers, they are excellent coders, they are project managers, but they don't speak up in meetings or in front of client, or they avoid difficult conversations. So, I think we should fix this whole, because the world is going more towards collaboration.
Mhm.
And I say that, see, we might talk about it, but, we worry about AI or automation taking away our jobs, or, all this rubbish actually. What I think is that we have to be more humans now. Okay, so if that job is something which can be automated, it will be automated. But it means that it is not a job for humans. But creativity, let's say, having an own perspective, a new idea, articulating, putting it out there, discussion, collaboration, these are all human features, I would say. And we all have to be more and more humans. And that's where communication, collaboration, interpersonal skills come in.
Yeah. The classes I take in environmental science, there's so many important discoveries that are made, but that sometimes get overlooked because it's not presented in a way that's like general public will take or be able to sit through and grasp. And one of the things you mentioned earlier about that meme, I feel like once you're in the real world, you can just Google anything you want. You can find the answer, and what's important is being able to use it, right? Going back to WordsMaya's programs, while you're working on this, I heard that you were collaborating with schools and colleges. Can you share like your experiences with these collaboration efforts and what you're doing through them?
Yeah, sure. So since start, we have always been going towards colleges. We got good acceptance early on. In Pune University, we got first opportunity for a pilot, and later we had 3 events in 2018-19 where we had vice chancellor and registrar of Pune University on our dais and telling all the colleges that you need to implement such programs to improve your placements, and WordsMaya is one such solution. So having that influencer on stage really helped. it was not easy to tap in colleges. Sometimes they're the way their thought process works, their finances work, uh, delay in payments, or the way in which they, you know, plan their academic schedule. There are a lot of differences. And, you know, you run a startup, let's say you want to earn revenue month on month, right? You want to grow month on month, quarter on quarter, but colleges work yearly. So if you miss 1 year, it's pretty much at least 6 months are gone. So that really slows your pace down. So talking to colleges is really physical as well. They need a lot of face-to-face time. We always wanted to do things online mostly, and having some mentors or practice sessions offline if required, because public speaking, you know, being on stage and having that stage fear, I think it can be done much better offline. But we wanted to do things online, and colleges were pushing us more and more towards offline. So there was always a big challenge. But I was looking at the scale in which colleges can help us reach. It's very, very difficult to scale B2C, even though the opportunity is huge in open market. Colleges, they're slow, but you get, suddenly you get bigger chunks of business easily. And now in 2021, we got MOU with AICTE as well. You might know AICTE is the regulatory body for professional education in India at Delhi level. So we were always talking to them. We won an award in 2019. So we had an opportunity to present in front of Niti Aayog. At the same time, we reached AICTE in Delhi. But it took some time to have things on paper. So now we have an MOU with AICTE, and that is helping us scale across India.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I'm curious about something you mentioned earlier about networking, right? Um, so a lot of people who are going directly to job search right out of college or school have don't have much of an access to like a solid network they can rely on, and there's a hidden job market where the jobs aren't even posted, right? So how do you find opportunities in that kind of a market?
Yeah, it's good that you touched upon this point and you mentioned it as hidden job market. And actually, now because of LinkedIn, it should become very easy for us to network. But let me tell you a story how I found my first job. Okay, so I graduated from College of Engineering, Pune, COEP, and at that time, startup was nowhere, in our mind. Getting that topmost job on first day, then you are a hero, and I was that hero. But at the end of graduation, I realized that okay, I'm really interested in one particular field. It is called as CFD, Computational Fluid Dynamics. I had my cousin in NASA, so he used to tell me that he uses these methods in his job. So I was really interested. And at that time, it was upcoming in India. Not many jobs were there. But interestingly, the best CFD company was in Pune. So I got 2 campus jobs. I literally sent an email to the HR that I'm interested in this field. Will you give job in that department? Because what happens in generally at fresher level, these large companies take in a lot of people, and wherever there is an opportunity, they place later, right? You at fresher level, nobody asks you what you want to do really. And I think at fresher level, many times you really don't know anything, what happens in corporates. So it's really important to go through that experience anyway. But I was clear on this particular field. So these HR, either they didn't reply positively or they didn't reply at all. So I literally left that. Okay. And after graduation, I started looking around, right? And at that time, no LinkedIn or no formal. They were Orkut days. Okay. Not even Facebook. So through professional network doesn't exist really. So through personal network, and you'll go to interview and ask this question that I did this project. Do you have a role in this field? And their challenge was it was first time a graduate was asking for this role. At that time, CFD was only in master's curriculum, only in IITs. It was not percolated. Nowadays, it is everywhere. Okay. and only few jobs were there, but I knew that this is the future, right? I had few friends who worked for Tata Research Center as an intern, their final year project. So I got to know the email ID of their manager, and I wrote an email saying that I'm really passionate about this field. And I saw that your department and these 5 people work in that field. They have research papers in that field. I'm really passionate about this field, but I don't know much about that. I have done my project, I have done few courses, but I would like to know more about it. Can I get a meeting? And 2 months later, I got a call directly from the person, I was referring to in that email, saying that, I'm this person. What do you want to talk about, really? Okay. So I said, I'm really interested in this field and I just want few minutes or 1 hour of your time. I really want your guidance. That's all. He said, no, I'm going abroad for a conference. I'll call you later. He did call me 1 month later and he said, okay, I like your profile. In 1 week, he told me to create a presentation. There was no interview. They were saying, okay, you come here at 11, you will get half an hour and you just tell us what you know. So there were all 40 scientists in front of me in a nice auditorium. And I just presented. And I knew that, okay, there are all scientists, so I should put up a good show. They will, really, I was ready to really face disappointment, I would say. And they made me sit throughout the day talking to different people. And at the end of the day, he said, I think I might have an offer for you. Okay, so this is the first time we are taking a graduate student, and we are all PhDs hardly, or some masters. This is the first time, so I'll have to put up a case in front of HR. But I would like you to be here at least for 1 year. So see, this is the way, so right from choosing where you want to work, really, identifying opportunities, trying to identify where, or having referrals there, and going there with an open mind, or even having informational interviews. Now we are really figuring out a process. Actually, you can see my LinkedIn posts these days are all on this, that how do you get the best jobs in this invisible job market. Unfortunately, it is called as invisible, but I think there can be a much better process these days because of LinkedIn.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely opens up so many doors, right? I do feel like sometimes there seems to be so many people on LinkedIn and so many opportunities. It's not really, there's no sure way to check on the credibility of a job offering. And a lot of people, always talk about you have to be active on social media, on LinkedIn to be able to be like noticed by recruiters or be able to network. But I'm curious, like your thoughts on why this online presence is so important in terms of a career.
Online persona, I think everybody should have it. I regard this as part of communication, by the way. That you can say non-verbal communication, right? Without you saying anything, the way your body language, the way your etiquette or your dressing works in offline sense, in online sense, your online profile works the similar way, that you get judged quickly before even you get that message or you get that phone call, right? So having a good, decent enough professional online image, at least on LinkedIn, I think is a bare minimum these days.
Yeah, I agree. And connecting this back to like something we mentioned earlier, how jobs are evolving right now, right, with automation, and it's important to be more human. So, or finding like the human characteristics as opposed to just like technical knowledge. So, yeah, it's interesting what you mentioned right now as well in terms of like not following the set path of like education. And yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, so there was a report, okay, by LinkedIn Learning, 2020, just before pandemic hit. They released that report. It was pretty clear, okay. So they asked all large companies, CEOs and hiring managers that what are your learning preferences, means what your organization is learning, what are you investing in, or what are you expecting from your people. Same goes with the new hires, right? And hands down, there was a big chapter on it, that, and the title of the chapter was, in the age of robots, soft skills will reign supreme. Okay, so 92% of hiring managers said that they are considering soft skills as important or even more than, in some cases, as hard skills. And they asked, what are those top soft skills you would like? So the top three were leadership, creative problem solving, and communication. I mean, we did a webinar last year, similar time, and we had an HR from Godrej. He's the topmost HR, Shailesh Deshpande in Godrej. So he said nicely, okay, on leadership. We think leadership means leading others. I have to be CEO, or I have to be HOD, or, as a higher person, and I'm leading or telling others what to do, or maybe influencing or motivating others to action. But he said leadership is of two things. One is leading yourself, which comes first actually, and then leading others. And he put communication, problem solving in important part of leading yourself. And even, for that matter, time management, task management, stress management. These are all soft skills which we need to lead first ourselves, and naturally then we will be able to lead others. So even in leadership is a huge component of self-development and being human.